Hi, my friends. Welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, your host, and also an indie author. I'm thrilled you're joining me today for another fun interview with a passionate author. We're going to kick off this show with an exciting reading, so let's get started.
Hello, my name's Garen Whited. I am an author, and I have one series, a couple of books. Most of it's all interrelated. What I'm going to be reading to you is from Nightlord Sunset, the first book in the Nightlord series. It is the introduction, although it is titled The Disclaimer. I started this with the intent to keep a diary. As I have written it, it serves me well. It recorded my thoughts and feelings at the time I wrote it, and in that regard is certainly a success. Nevertheless, it fails to tell the whole of the story. It is only my own point of view, and I was woefully ignorant of a number of things while they were happening. Therefore, while it is of interest to me, it is less so to anyone else who reads it. Within this work are places where you will see I have done some unforgivably stupid things. Here I can say only that I am not perfect. Throw stones if you must, but have a care for your own house. I also offer a part excuse, part explanation. I am subject to influences from my most recent meals. I have not edited those parts to make myself seem better than I am. They stand as they were written. I am what I am, for better or for worse. I find it instructive to observe how I changed over time, even in so short a time as this work covers. You are what you eat is more of a truism from my kind than I ever expected. Nevertheless, not all of the changes can be attributed to things I have eaten, perhaps not even most. I like to think I have grown, but I may flatter myself. I am certain you will have your own opinion. Decide for yourself. Suppose I could have edited the entries for brevity, perhaps even should have. Instead, I've left them as they are. Keep in mind that originally, these were my personal thoughts, recorded in diary fashion. This was not something for others to read, and never intended as an actual story. That said, one must keep in mind this is, of course, a work of pure fiction, with no bearing whatsoever on anything real, provided you have a firm grasp on your personal reality. It's just a story, right?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Inside the Minds of Authors. I am super thrilled to have the amazing Mr. Garon with us today, who is not only seems to be a voice actor by the sounds of his reading, but also a fabulous author. How you doing, darling? Talk to me.
I'm doing pretty good so far. I could stand for this, heat wave to be a little bit over, but, hey, aside from that, I'm doing okay.
Hey, it's Texas. We're officially immersed in our beautiful weather, so we're not complaining.
Oh, no, I'm not complaining. I'm indoors.
It's going to be one of those interviews, ladies and gentlemen. Be prepared. Let's get started. You gave us a tease, a little bit intro of this book.
Yes.
For all of us who are still trying to figure out why is he going to talk about his meals for pages on end, what is the book about? Tell us.
Well, the series is called the Nightlord series, and that's a clue, okay? Because the main character is a species of vampire. The whole series is basically this guy's ramblings. Diary. It's a first-person perspective series done from the point of view of Eric. Eric discovers during the course of the series that there are many different kinds of vampires, different species. Some can only go out at night. Some have to drink blood every night. Some don't. It's just a whole plethora of mythology around vampires and other supernatural creatures. It is, however, I might point out, a fantasy in that it takes place, at least at first, in a modern technological, Western civilization world, and moves rapidly kind of in a Connecticut Yankee fashion in many ways to more medieval settings. And then there are a number of other worlds and times and places. He gets around a lot. He really does. Not bad for somebody who drinks blood and avoids the sunrise.
I'm glad that you had to tell us this is a fantasy. I was like, Was this supposed to be a true story? Because we started with this is a vampire.
Yeah. No. This is absolutely not a true story.
Okay. I'm glad you had to put the disclaimer in there just in case we were a little confused.
I understand. I understand. Not a problem. Single white guy lives alone, owns a chainsaw in a basement. Nothing to see here. Move along.
Oh, that's just got creepy in so many different ways. You mentioned this is a series. How many books are you working on? How many books do we have right now? What is our listeners can expect?
Okay, I planned it to be a trilogy, and I'm working on book 8. Yeah, I know. I got a minor Piers Anthony thing here where I'm trying to cram a trilogy into like 9 or 10 books. The problem is he's a rather tough character, and I keep trying to kill him off, and he just refuses to stay dead. It's a problem. I'm working on it. I will get him yet. It's taking a while to get to the point where I can. I'm sorry. I have an adversarial relationship with my primary character. Don't judge.
But he's already dead.
Well, yeah, but he gets better when the sun comes up because, again, his species, the vampire, operates that way. In Bram Stoker's Dracula, you saw Dracula could go out during the day, but it diminished his powers markedly, okay? This guy has a very similar problem. During the sunrise and the sunset, that light, because he's already dead or turning into an undead, will still burn him like you would expect with a vampire. But once his transformational period is over, where he's kind of on the border between living and dead, he's vulnerable to the light. But once it's over, hey, it's daytime. He breathes again. He has a heartbeat. He sweats. He can do all the things a normal living person can do, but most of his vampiric abilities have been suppressed by the sun. And then he hides from the light for the sunset, and his heart stops. He doesn't need to breathe. He sits up and goes, well, I feel better, and goes about his normal blood-sucking day. Evening, period.
This is a really interesting mishmash of everything you know about vampires and the things that you don't. Mm-hmm. So you're taking the really fun parts and put it all into a book. A reader told me recently that the hard part about reading paranormal and fantasy is that every writer has their own take on the supernatural.
Yep. He
was quite honest to say, I don't want to know about it. I just want to have a story and get lost. I don't want to know about the world. But anybody who's reading fantasy and enjoys this as much as we do loves to find out what the world setting is and what the rules of engagement are. So your rules are really fun.
I love world building. I love figuring out how it all works. Eric, in his mortal life, was a junior professor at a college, taught freshman physics, a little computer programming, that kind of thing, right? And of course, he gets turned into a vampire and rapidly discovers that is the least of his worries because people are trying to kill him because, well, hello, undead. We have to get rid of those, right? But during the course of his travels, he encounters a lot of magic and a lot of people who use magic and stuff like that, and even learns to use it himself, actually. But he winds up on a world that is a flat world. And there is a lot that goes on in making a flat world, not a sphere, a flat world work. Does the sun go all the way around it? Does it illuminate the bottom? Does it just cycle back and forth? How does gravity work? If you fall off the edge, do you keep falling forever? Or do you fall around it until you land on the far side? I mean, does gravity work on both directions, or is it just down all the way? What are the rules here? Well, as a physicist, he one day gets to the edge of that world, looks over the side and goes, I hate this place. Because, well, yeah, the world is flat. This is wrong. I thought the locals were just, ignorant. They didn't realize no, it's flat.
This is the end.
I found the edge. The world stops here. Oh, I hate this place. The poor guy. Everything he knows, gone. Yeah, all right, fine. Doesn't work here.
But, I can see why he's highly traumatized because think I would feel the same way. I was like, what do you mean it ends? Like, there's just to be a little rope like you have in the movie theaters. Don't pass this line. You're going to fall. It's like,
Yeah, in many ways, it's kind of like, Terry Pratchett's Discworld has the circumfence. It's a partial fence around the edge of the world to catch things as the ocean is constantly washing over the edge, and the fence catches stuff, and there's a whole culture based on salvaging things from the circumfence. And I'm like, that works. Where's the water go? Where do you get water from? And those are questions that I needed to answer for a flat world of my own creation. See what I mean?
Oh, wow. This is taking world building to such a degree of like madness and fun all at once.
Oh, yes. Wait a minute. How did this world come to be? Did it form naturally? Did something create it? Great. Now I have to come up with a mythology of who created the world. So I did. Went on from there. Yeah.
That's usually how it starts. That's awesome. So let's go back to Eric and
Mhm.
his poor travels of becoming a vampire and people trying to kill him.
Mhm.
How did that idea come about? What were you pondering? What were you discussing that said, I think I'm going to write a vampire book?
I decided to write a vampire book, and everything grew out of that. Okay, that was the fundamental thing. I'm going to write a vampire book. I was inspired to do so by other literature. We used to have these buildings. They were made of like, actual brick and mortar. They were physical structures where you could go in and buy books. That was all they did. They just sold books. It was weird. I know. It was like a library, but you could buy them, not just borrow them. Back in those ancient days when I was just a wee little lad, I went in there, picked up a brand new vampire book off of the shelf, sat down in one of their nice comfy chairs, started reading it, and realized it was crap.
Okay.
I struggled through the whole thing, looked at it and felt betrayed, and thought to myself, I could eat a pen and produce a better story tomorrow morning. Yeah,
That bad.
I was displeased. Okay, I didn't pay any money, and I felt cheated. Okay, that's 2 hours of my life I'm not getting back, and I may need those 2 hours for something someday. Okay, there could be something
And you
important.
and you read the whole thing. I think that's the part that I'm going, why would you finish it? But okay.
Well, the first chapter, well, maybe this is just starting off slow, you know? Okay, let me give the second or third chapter, 100 pages in. There's a lot of buildup here. This better be worth it. Most of the way through, it's like, I will finish this book, even if it kills me. And it might. My heart already hurts. Oh, why am I reading this? Because I'm stubborn. That's why. Okay, I don't need another reason. Finished it, hated it, and said, I'm going to write a story. And 2.5, 3 million words later, yep, still writing it.
Definitely committed. I will have to give you that. Stubborn and committed to a whole new degree.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Although, to be fair, I am having a lot of fun writing the story because I get to try and figure out how other universes fit into the larger cosmology of the universe I've created, how there are different species of vampires, what they're capable of doing, because I've got to allow for everybody else's vampires, don't I? If this is going to be a true multi-universal, framework, the protagonist is wandering around in. So, how many different species of werewolf are there? Some are cursed, some are species, some are, accidents based on, some wizard doing something weird, which is kind of a default condition for what's that? It's weird. Wizard did it deliberately, or did he do it deliberately, or did he screw it up? That's a judgment call. So stuff like that.
I'm glad that you love so much of imagination. It could happen. It will be okay. How long have you been writing this series for?
Oh, about 30 years.
Oh.
Yeah. But to be fair, I've only been doing it full time for about 6 years, 7 years, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. But, before I've got a full-time job. I got to go places. I'm tired when I get home. I got story to write there. I've got a couple hundred words down and I'll edit that some other time. Like I'm going to do laundry, go to bed. Full-time jobs really cut into my writing time.
I think full-time job cuts into everybody's writing time. That's just kind of what happens.
Yeah. But now I do it full-time. I'm a writer. That's how I make my living. Absolutely. I'm self-employed. My boss is demanding. Boy, I don't like that guy much.
Words have to get down according to that guy.
Yeah, I know.
So tell us, will you consider this series a YA adult? Who is your audience for this one specifically?
The guy's a vampire. There's going to be some gore and violence involved. Okay. I mean, it can be avoided, but that's not the nature of this story. Okay. It doesn't have anything too explicit. The language isn't all that bad. I mean, I think he uses the F word, I think once, maybe twice, in some pretty extreme circumstances. But usually it's like, well, I exercised my vocabulary of profanity and then got a grip on myself. Things like that. It could be a YA audience. I would think that you would want to have, somewhere at least 12 years old before they tried to tackle this. Again, I guess it really depends on what you're comfortable with as a parent letting your children read. I didn't target it as a YA series. It's grown-up literature. I hate using the word literature. It sounds pompous. It's a grown-up story, It's for people. Grown-ups who like fantasy, there you go. We got this. I'm not sure if it's urban fantasy or epic fantasy or there's some historical fantasy, then there's some alternate history, and I couldn't decide on a genre, so I just went with it.
Stick with fantasy because you're
Yeah, yeah.
crossing all over the place.
There's a lot of magic involved, so somewhere in there it's got to be fantasy, but it covers a lot of other things. Yes.
There's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It works. You
Oh
have
yeah.
been writing for a while. You
Oh
have
yes.
created an entire universe. So
Several of them.
in different planes, in different time frames, it
Yes.
works. In your writing journey, what have you learned that you can help a brand new author with?
Well, first of all, if you're thinking about being an author, don't.
That is horrible. Why?
If you're thinking about it, you're not certain. And if you're an author, you will be.
I
You
like.
need to be. Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. I've got story ideas. Go ahead. Write your story. Okay. Don't worry about if you're an author or not. You'll find that out based on how much you choose to write. Okay. Because we make time. We don't take time. We make time for the things that we love and the things that we need. So if you are an author, you will write. If you think you want to be an author, well, try it and see. But don't be too shocked if you find that I've written a couple of nice short stories and that's it. Everybody has their own level of love for the profession. And if you don't have it, okay, fine. You don't. But there's some story in you, write that. When you run out, if you run out, accept that and go on. If you're an author, you will know it.
I love that. That is actually very, very brutally honest, but very profound. And I think some people are waiting for that invitation from somebody else. I think it's okay to realize I only needed to write one or two stories and I'm okay. You don't have to sit and torture yourself trying to write more.
Exactly. I have a story. I need to tell my story. I've told my story and I can't think of another one. Oh, okay. Well, then you've told the story you needed. And if you need to tell another one, it will let you know.
I think that's beautiful. I found a lot of people are finding themselves and they call it like their black spells and I can't get motivated and they beating themselves up over and over instead of just saying, I'm good. I did what I meant to do. I'm going to move on and have a blast and let things fall into place.
There you go. That is exactly right.
I love it. I don't think many writers or many aspiring authors can put it into perspective and say that is okay to do.
You do you.
Shouldn't we be doing that already? Many of us don't.
Yeah, but hey, I mean, you know, I figure if we all repeat it often enough, someone who needs to hear it will listen.
It will click for all of us. Tell me, you're still working on your series. Are you working on something else besides that one? Or this is all consuming your time and passion?
I am, by and large, working entirely on the Night Lord series. There are multiple branches to the Night Lord series, however, because Eric winds up in a lot of different universes, different worlds, different environments, and some of those deserve to be pursued. For example, I have the novel Dragon Hunters. It's a story about typical, it's almost lit RPG. You've got this group of adventurers. They find out about a dragon. They go to face the dragon and it eats them. But they're not going to let a little thing like dying stop them because they're adventurers and they're determined. They're heroes. Eric shows up as a little cameo at the beginning of the book because by that point, he's a powerful vampire sorcerer type, right? You know, finds the one survivor and goes, I see your problem. Hang on a minute. Goes and finds the spirits of the dead companions and turns them into ghosts that can just hang around with him. Mind you, the survivor is sort of a paladin type holy warrior, hence some issues with the necromancy involved. But he doesn't get over it, but he gets used to it. But Eric does his thing and goes away. That's it. One chapter. Gone. Hi, I've sown chaos and discomfort. My job here is done. And off he goes. I mean, not realizing the mess he's just left behind for the poor guy. Not to mention a couple of ghosts who were going, well, this isn't what I expected. And so on. But that story is all about them going, we're going to kill a dragon and I've got some dead guys that I'm bringing along and I don't really know how to deal with all this. This is wrong. And they have larger issues. They live in a world where the world apparently exploded at some point, but now there are large chunks of it where people still live. And it all is like, wait a second. Yeah, Eric is not pleased with the astronomy involved, but there's a lot of history to the world. There's a lot of different places they can go. There's, magic and a whole bunch of different cultures that they got to face off with. I want to turn that into a series, but so far I've only got that one book, Dragon Hunters, where Eric shows up. Interesting stuff. I need to make more of that. Haven't got there yet, but I'm gonna. And it all relates back to the Night Lord series again, because that kind of covers encompasses everything, if you will.
I don't think I like Eric visiting places. He just seems to cause trouble and messes where he goes.
Yeah, he feels bad about that. He's normally a fairly responsible guy, but he thought he was helping.
I'm glad he felt bad about it. That makes me feel better, but he still left.
Yeah.
Here's some ghosts. Gotta go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, part of the problem is we're dealing with a paladin type, a holy warrior who's calling upon the light of the celestials to assist him in his endeavors. And the vampire's kind of like, you go ahead. I'll be over here. You do your thing. I've looked through an interdimensional gateway into another time zone and had my face blasted off by sunlight in the middle of the night. I don't appreciate it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with this anymore. You go do you. I've done what I can to help. I'm out of here.
Eric's like, peace out. Good luck. Here are your friends.
I've done my best to help. I hope that's enough. Good luck. Pardon me. I don't want to be set on fire by your prayers.
I don't blame him. That kind of makes sense. It's one of those, you're on your own.
I'm a vampire. I've got some limitations here. And I don't want to admit that I'm a vampire to the Holy Warrior, because then he's going to be obligated to try and kill me, and I'm going to have to rip him to pieces. And I just don't want to do that. I'm trying to be a nice guy.
I don't know if I have sympathy or it's just absolute shock for your poor Eric. But either way, absolute fun, absolute madness, my type of world.
There
Exciting.
you go. Oh, yes, I'm delighted with that. But that's just one example of one of the things is kind of not a side project, but kind of a branching project from the Night Lord series. I write little short stories of what Eric has been doing and things that he has done that didn't get covered in the books, for example. I post those on the website, that kind of thing. Whenever anybody mentions ants or giant ants or just insects in general, he goes, I don't want to talk about it. Well, there's a chapter that didn't make it into one of the books about his encounter with a post-apocalyptic world with giant ants and an ant hive, the size of a small skyscraper. And he did not appreciate that. It was not fun. He didn't enjoy it at all. But unless you've read that story, all you ever get anywhere in the series is, it looks like we've got kind of an ant infestation. I don't want to talk about it. What? What do you mean you don't want to talk about it? Ants. I don't want to talk about it. And that's it. That's the joke. That's the end of it. And then you get to the website and you read the story and go, okay, now I get it. See?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a bunch of stuff like that. So, yeah.
The universe is immense. I like the multi-universe category and how you're jumping from one place to another. I am sure our listeners are loving it as well, just because we don't see that often. You don't get to see the crossovers and the different ways and takes that you're using this vampire lore to create this different story. So it's absolutely fabulous. Where can our listeners find the book, where they can learn more about you, where they can find the short stories of poor Eric and his not so happy ever after?
Well, sometimes it's pretty nice. Sometimes it's less so. But you can find most of my stuff either the hard way around is to just go to my website, GaronWhited.com. You can also just Google my name, Garen and Whited. Amazon knows me. Google knows me. It'll throw up a whole bunch of stuff. Of course, I'm also on Amazon, obviously. You can get the hardbacks, the audiobooks, the ebooks. All of those are available on Amazon. Again, just plug my name in. You can't miss it. I'm not the only thing that comes up. I'm like the first dozen results or so. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to find just using my name. Plug in Night Lord. Your odds are good. You're going to find something related. It's a thing. Yeah. If you're looking for more of the short stories, afterward to find out more about, what kind of writing style are we talking about here? If you go to my website, there's a bonus stories tab. They're free. Just click on it. Pops right up. Pick one. And you'll get kind of a feel for how a lot of it goes. Some of it may be a little confusing. Wait, how does he do that? Read the books. It'll explain. Yeah. It's obvious he can do that. Yeah. Okay. There you are.
I love it. It's so much fun. So, darling, I can talk to you forever. This has been absolutely hysterical. I have pains and suffering for poor Eric. I'm just going to admit it. I guess it's meant to be. Before you leave us, are you ready for the lightning round? Mentally get prepared. All
right. Hit me.
Easy peasy. Don't think too hard on this. Let's go. Hot chocolate or apple cider?
Hot chocolate.
Nice. Skiing or swimming?
I'm going to go with swimming only because I don't like the cold.
We'll give you that one. Fair enough. Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
I can see this.
I do not wake up well. No.
Ebooks or print?
I would prefer print, but I gotta admit the ebooks are so handy when you're going somewhere and you need to bring the library. I usually have the laptop, but I prefer print. I prefer print.
I'm with you if I have to travel. I want an ebook because it's only so much I can take in a backpack. So I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
Here's your last one. Let's see how you go with this one. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Immortality.
I'm assuming you've been thinking about this for a while.
Yeah, no, but that one leaps immediately to mind because then I would finally have time to do everything.
I'm glad you want a superpower so you can be efficient and productive. That's pretty good. I
Mm-hmm.
like.
I got a lot to do, and if I didn't feel the constant pressure of my slowly increasing age, I would probably be more productive.
Oh, that sounds so dramatic and sad all at once. Okay.
Am I the only one who's aware that I'm slowly growing older? Doesn't everybody have that feeling of time slowly pressing down, wearing away at you until you're finally going to be a decrepit pile of dust?
No. I
No?
try not to think about it that
It's
way.
just me. Okay, fine.
At least in that dramatic form, yes. I'm like, oh, wow, my fantasy's not nearly this drastic as yours.
So I'm the only person who views every heartbeat as a ticking down rather than having achieved another one.
Yes.
My heartbeat's a countdown timer. I'm the only one who looks at it that way? Okay, fine.
Maybe a tad bit, just a tad bit. Yeah.
I
But
see.
darling, it will be okay. In the meantime, just keep counting. You're good. It has been an absolute pleasure. Do you have any closing remarks for us?
Not usually this depressing.
That's a different take. I will have to give you that. Darling, a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. To our listeners, I hope you had as much fun as I did today. Go ahead, give this episode a like, share it with your friends, invite others to join us. You know, we're always better when we're growing together. Remember, if you would like to support the production of our podcast and all the other fun stuff I have, join the Patreon community, patreon.com/author DC Gomez. And I will see you all again next week for another amazing author. Bye.